We'll be looking at geopolitics away from the conventional, local politics that we talk about, where we have to talk about several political parties and all of that. But now we'll be shifting our attention on the crisis going on in the Middle East, especially with regards to the war on Iran by Israel. Now we'll be looking at the root cause, first of all, of this particular attack on Iran. Is it actually factual? Is there any fundamental reason why Israel decided to go on a military action against Iran? And of course, what are the likely, retaliation, especially considering the fact that Iran has already made a statement that they would give Israel a taste of their own medicine? What are the likelihood that Africa would not be negatively impacted, especially giving rise to the back and forth that will be coming from these two parties? So these are some of the conversations we'll be having this morning. And of course, to help us make sense out of this, as usual, we are joined by our guest in the person of Comrade Oshodi Jeritin, who is a political affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Comrade. Thank you so much for joining us.
God bless you, Joshua. How are you today?
Very well. Very well. Now, let's look at the issues. But before we analyze the action, especially the military action meted out on Iran by Israel, let us look at the root cause of the situation, because there is no effect without a cause.
A cause, of course.
Right. Now, what actually is the root cause of the situation that resulted in the sudden attack on Israel, on Iran?
All right, by my little understanding, I look at Israel for their political stakes or situation. They are centered around with enemies. And it's just like you in a foreign land, and when they're playing their music, because you don't understand their language, so the music becomes noise in your ears. So being then find themselves at the midst of enemies, I think anybody around them is a suspect. And with Israel now, with what they feel over the Iran, founding some of these, like Giza, Habzan and others, they know one day they may wake up on them. So at least for them to be at a sleep where these people will come upon them, I believe that is why they said, let's do it at the open day, instead of you catching us unaware. I sense that the Israel military intelligence would have sent something. Like what you rightly said, there is no effect without cost. Israel will not be able to be so mount, and maybe looking for a way to text their weapon. They would have looked for an open field, not just for a country to cause the war. I know they sense out something, that these people may one day catch us unaware. So for them to do that, let us first of all strike. You should know Israel what they are.
All right. I really appreciate that analogy you painted about the fact that someone who might be playing a music that doesn't seem to interest you might look or sound like noise to you. Now, let's even look at the issue critically. Taking a leaf from what you just said about something that sounds like a noise to you, but to some other person, it is a very appealing music. Now, in several interviews that, the Prime Minister of Israel, I'm talking about Benjamin Netanyahu, has had, he has accused, Iran of a couple of things, which of course we've also received counter accusations from Iran. First, Israel views Iran as an existential threat.
Yeah.
If I would borrow a leaf from what you just said to relate it with this. And some of those threats that Israel perceived Iran to be is the fact that Iran has been accused to be responsible to a whole lot of genocidal attack. First, the American embassies that were bombed. Israel is accusing Iran of being responsible for it. We are also aware that Netanyahu also accused Iran of being responsible for the murder that resulted in the death of 241 Marines in Beirut. They are also responsible for the killing and injuring of thousands of American servicemen, both in Iraq and Afghanistan. And also the most recent one, which also didn't happen, they tried to bomb a restaurant in Washington, which of course they also cited the American flag, which they attempted to burn down. So with all of this, do you think that Israel has that moral justification to place an attack on Iran, given the fact that Iran never at any time attacked Israel?
Yeah. Well, when you said never at any time attack Israel, I believe you to some extent, because there was no physical attack,
yes,
from the Iraq.
Yes.
But when you aim and abet, like the issue of Gaza and Gaza, we know the role Iran play, and should you expect Israel to be happy over that? And to what I said before, you know, when you trace this history back to the scripture, to the creation, you discover that Israel has been an enemy to Iran, and all this why, in one way or the other, they always want to show their power against. And Israel, if Iran have a way to eliminate Israel, they will carry on without looking back. And the same thing, if Israel have that weight on them, they will without looking back. But based on this, they have been in a kind of, should I call it an eternity enemy? And for any just reason they suspect themselves, you should know what you expect from them. You don't, like what they said, he that used to kill with knife, you don't sharp knife in his backyard.
Yeah, I think it's a local proverb in our palace, where they say, he who goes about killing, even would not allow somebody standing behind him with a knife.
Not at all.
So they are both suspects.
They are both suspects. So I think that is the issue between the two countries. It's just unfortunate. No, God knows why. I don't have to blame God for that. Why He plagues Israel at the midst of enemy. So even every country around Israel, they are all working all together just to wipe up. I don't know what they have in Israel. Is it jealous, I will call it, or what? But thank God for everything. I know peace will reign.
All right. Now, we have talked about the accusation from the angle of Israel on Iran. Iran is also accusing Israel of also genocidal attack on Gaza. We saw the extent at which Israel dealt with Gaza, to the point that even children and, of course, you know, nursing mothers were affected. What's your take on that? Do you think they also have an excuse, you know, for a reprisal attack on Israel?
The Gaza issue, the Israel was on their own when the Gaza strike. And I would have believed that Israel understood or find out in one way or the other that even Gaza wouldn't have come on their own if they were not sponsored by Iran. Because if you watch Suez that period, most of the, I think there was one kind of a report I had sometime that some funds, some kind of money was found that the Iran were kept to sponsor the Gaza against Israel. And you know what it means, sir. Let us not just beat around the bush. I have a case in my village now that they caught an armed robber, somebody who had been terrorizing the village. All right, they call him stealing things and others. And now what they did is that by the time the boy started confessing who he sold and others, so those people he sold it to, they went and had to arrest those people. Because if they were not buying it, this boy wouldn't have been stealing. So automatically, if Gaza were not receiving a kind of force from the Iraq, they wouldn't have attacked Israel in the first case. You understand? So being on that, so for Israel to have a peace on their own, I think they want to stop the root. The best thing is this, is that you have to treat the root so that the tree should bear fruit. If they allow the root to remain and they just cut off the tree, one day it will grow up again.
Okay, now let's look at what gives, you know, Iran that emboldenedness, you know, as it were, to be able to think that they would give Israel a taste of their medicine. there are two treaties here, which I'm going to read for the sake of our viewing audience. We have a treaty that says Treaty to the Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, which is the TPNW. And now what that, treaty means is that you are not allowed to either develop, which means conceptualizing the idea, producing, possessing, and also using nuclear weapons. Neither of these two countries are treaty. They are not members. Okay. They are not sole signatories to that particular treaty. Okay. But of course, there is another treaty which says Non-Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, which is the NPT. Fortunately, Iran is a treaty. Is a signatory to that treaty. And what that treaty allows you to do as a member is that you are allowed to develop, which is coming up with an idea of that kind, to produce nuclear energy, which could be used maybe for powering of electricity and what have you. But it prohibits any nation who is signed to that treaty from developing nuclear weapon. Now, look at this clearly. Israel is not a member to this particular treaty that allows you to produce nuclear energy. But Iran is a signatory to it. On what basis does Israel have to tell Iran that given the fact that you are a treaty to that particular agreement, I cannot, if I were Iran this time, I cannot produce nuclear weapon, in as much as I am aware that I am not allowed to do so? Because if you look at it clearly, let me paint this analogy so you understand. You come to my house with the purpose of fighting me with a knife, and I have somewhere a gun, perhaps a hunter gun that I'm using to hunt animals. What makes you think that you come into my house with a knife to fight me? I cannot use that gun
to defend
you to defend myself. That's the case here. So what's your take on it?
All right. I don't know how I will put this for the sake of the audience to understand me better. One thing is this, that I look at this politics, what politics at times, when they're making this politics, they will want to safeguard themselves and probably put a hit on the other side. And you understand? A country is like not to produce, not to touch, and where you can just touch and you don't. It's just like somebody producing poison or this rat something, and with one hand, and you say you should not use the same hand to eat. You understand? And the other one producing it.
More like beating a child and not allowing the child to cry.
Yeah. Then having another one producing, you say, okay, you can produce it, you can eat with your hand, but don't wash it. Automatically, you want that guy to go and kill himself. Because the same poison that killed the rat can also kill human being. And you give an instruction that you can just look and you eat, you produce, don't wash your hand and eat. You are putting danger into this mess. You see, pull the tool analysis down, you discover that they're just trying to deceive themselves.
You mean the both parties?
The both parties, yes. Because one, whether you produce, you don't produce, but you do tell them not to buy.
True.
You understand? Then, on the other hand, where is the feed? Where are they producing it? And where is the love? That is the other one. Then the one that is produced not to use. Just like what you rightly said. You can't hold a gun and somebody is threatening you with knife.
So do you think that Israel in this case do not have the moral justification, given the fact that they were the one that attacked Iran in the first place? They do not have that moral justification to retaliate?
You mean the Iran?
Yes.
They should retaliate.
But with
would you expect them to fold their hands?
But with a nuclear weapon?
What did Israel use? If they have a better thing or a better weapon that is strong to stop Israel, I would tell them to go ahead. Go and use that and stop them. Let's put peace once and for all. You understand? What the truth there is this, is that...
So are you in support of Iran's retaliation using nuclear weapon?
But the fear is this, is that, well, the retaliation we are talking about, the people that are causing this issue, their children may not even be in their country. It's just the common man that they want to wipe out, who may not even know where this trouble is coming from, who will just be on their own looking for what to take for just for their survival. You understand? And they themselves are the big men that are making this trouble and in some way protecting themselves. And they just want them to wipe out all these men. That is the only way my fear is. If it were to be these military leaders upon the military leaders, I would have told them to go and test themselves. But for the sake of the communists, I would just ask if there's any way peace can come. I will encourage Iran to hold their peace and let peace reign. But to what it is, it's only God that can settle the conflict between these countries.
Now, still staying on the interview that Benjamin Netanyahu had, he was asked by the interviewer of one of these international news media stations that do you have any intention of attacking the supreme leader of Iran in the person of Ali Khamenei? His response did not sound direct. Rather, he went ahead to state some of the achievements they've made coming from the angle of Israel, stating that they've been able to succeed in attacking Iran's nuclear scientists, which are the team who put all of these things together. They've attacked and possibly killed them. They've also attacked their ballistic missile manufacturing facility. So it means that the factory or the plant that helps them to be able to put all of these things together is down. Now, what do you think that, this might mean, especially considering the fact that Iran does not have a place right now where they can manufacture these things, and the team who are putting these ideas together are nowhere to be found? Do you think that Iran's comeback will not be very, very disastrous?
Well, putting all this together, Israel will not fold their hands to allow them to come back. And before Israel comes out, let me just tell you the bitter truth there is that they have also on their own strategized their things, put their house in order. They have understood the Iranians, just like what you said, takes from his response to that interview. We show you that they are not even after Iran just like that. They want to destroy their power hold, so that to make all those their enemies around them useless, for them to have peace. You understand? So if they succeed, just like what they have done to Iraq, and they do it, you won't tell me, even if Iran don't have a place where they produce nuclear weapons or others, but they may have a store where they store them, and they have a market where they buy. And Israel will make sure those things are being blocked up. This is their target.
But remember, they cannot even buy because there is a treaty that they are signed to, which means that when you want to buy, what are you going to use it for? So no one will sell for you. But the case of having the idea to manufacture it now is no longer in place because the plant has been destroyed.
Well, what of the one they used before? Where they got it from?
Attacked.
The one they used before, where they got it from?
It was manufactured from their facility.
From their factories.
Yes.
And where's the factory today?
The factory is nowhere to be found because
so
it was a prime target.
Yeah, that is the target. That is what Israel has in mind, for them to have peace. And they have achieved their aims. So what do you now think that this one that Iraq is making man that they want to attack or come back in full force, being hazardous or whatever, where would they come from? Except they have one they have not used before.
Now, do you think that these escalations that are coming up now, do you think that, like they say, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers? The grass this time around might be African countries who are allies to both parties. Israel, as we have it, have about 40 African countries that are allies to Israel.
Yeah.
And of course, given analysis by various pundits, there is a possibility that this relationship has grown weak, if not completely fragile, due to the fact that these African countries might not be happy to see Israel in the perspective of being a warmonger, given the fact that they've fought Gaza to a standstill. Now they are going after Iran that never in any way attacked them physically. Do you think that it might affect some of these African countries that are in relationship with both parties at this time?
All right, let's look at it from this way. I will say yes, I will say no. Yes, in the sense let's look at Israel to Africa. Their power relationship with some of these Africa countries, how strong is it? That's very weak. What is their contribution to the Africans?
But of course, Netanyahu, upon his assumption in office, promised that he's going to strengthen the ties. But given this war that he has gone into with Iran, do you think that it will further make that tie or that relationship very, very weak and porous?
In both ways, it may make it weak. Why? On the religious side, then it may make it so strong. In the other religious side, what I mean by religious side, I'm looking at this. Let's take a sample from Rwanda.
Okay.
You understand what was the plan or the objective of the Iran giving aid to Gaza? When you look at it, Rwanda is of both Christian and Muslim, and their president today is a Muslim, and Gaza is Muslim. So I'm seeing it on my own from that angle. He's just giving aid to a religious brother. There are some countries in Africa also where their presidents are Christians, and they may also be happy in respecting that Iraq, it was Israel first, the true, and they won't be happy when the Islamic nations are teaming up together to fight their own country. They will also want to show their own. On that, it will have an effect. If we look at it from the religious angle. But when you come down to economic side and look at it, it has nothing to gain, we have nothing to lose.
So we have nothing to lose from that fact?
What are they contributing? If we are talking a country like Japan, we definitely know that automatically this Chinese phone don't go. And so many other things like that, we don't know. So what are we going to lose from the economic side of it? We don't have, except maybe they're just having a kind of a brotherhood issue, spreading the mission around the world and that kind of thing. And so that is still where the problem is. The Israel know, and they want to stop, to make sure every country around them, their enemy that is surrounding them is weak. So they will also have the upper hand over them all.
Why I asked this question was on the premise of the fact that Netanyahu stated that whatever he's doing is collaborating the effort of the American government, which is headed by Donald Trump, which in his statement said whatever policy that the American government puts out is America first, and then next every other surrounding nations that are in ally or in affiliation with them. So now, do you think that some African nations that are somewhat in good relationship with Israel will not give some sort of press statement or criticism against the fact that there has been a gross violation of international law in this case?
They will, against the international law, this case is accepted.
You don't attack a nation that never in any way attacked you.
So
do you think that
is what
there has been a violation of some sort that could make any of these African nations react or criticize
we can just say that a nation that have not attacked you, you just attack them. That is just between me and you. I don't think the Israel want to test their weapons and they were looking for Iran.
Say that again.
The Israel were not just that they just want to test their weapon and they say let's test it on Iran.
The issue is not even their quest to test the weapons.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. No, I'm just telling
Iran
you
to be a threat.
Yeah, thank you. That is where
attacks.
Then seeing Iran to be a threat based on the aid, the support, the fund they have given to all these countries like Gaza and others around them. So this is not going well with Israel. We shouldn't look at this issue from the attack.
Really?
Yeah, you shouldn't look for the day Israel took out the attack. This thing has been a thing that they have been launching. They're just pregnant of it. That day the attack was when they say, okay, let's put an end to this thing once and for all. Why should these people, why should Iran? It's just like now as a Nigeria country now. You understand? And you see what they call, let's say Ghana, sponsoring Benin Republic to attack us. After that, they sponsor Cameroon again. You understand? Sponsoring our neighbors just to destroy us. And then we know too well that by the time we finish with Ghana, Benin Republic and Cameroon will fall inside. What are we doing with Ghana? The best is to blow off Ghana. So from my own perspective, what I'm looking at is not that they didn't just attack Iran. They want to put an end to this nearby, like the Philistines, the surrounding nations that these people are sponsoring. I don't know how you feel that. So let me use it this way. Let me use it
like sending a signal.
Yes.
That we are aware where your support is coming from.
Thank you, sir. It's just like somebody that is threatening you. Say he wants to kill you, he will do this, he will do that to you. And one of these days, and the person saw that the Oga met you and started greeting you, Maga, well done, sir. What do you expect the person to do? He will succumb. This one, Maga, Oga. You understand? And so by the time they finish with Iraq, the Gazan and the rest, nobody I'm finished with, nobody will tell them to enter. Because this is where their ace is coming from. And think that is what the Israel don't want to see.
Are we likely to see, as we coast home, are we likely to see other allies who are in affiliation with Israel joining this war, which might precipitate a third world war, as some people are speculating?
What?
Because don't forget, Iran has its own allies.
Of
course. We will not sit back and watch Iran go down.
Of course.
You know, so what do you see? Do you see any possible escalation of this that might lead to a third world war?
Well, if it is not well handled.
If it's not well handled.
If it's not well handled, like America now, like the British, I know too well America.
Do you think
Israel,
America is warming up to join
America
forces?
is always behind Israel, and if Trump they use wisdom to come in, then that may also make the elite of the Iran to say, no, we can't take this nonsense. You understand? And let's come up. But if it's well handled, I think this will bring a lasting peace to the Middle Eastern crisis that have been lingering for years. It's a test of power. You know, when you own somebody, and in one way or the other you have not been able to pay it, and you met with the person, and at the end fight happened. You fight over. If you beat and you're not going to pay that money again.
All right, that's a beautiful way to live it. Thank you so much, Comrade Oshodi, for that beautiful analysis. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you, Joshua. Look forward to meet you again.
All right. Thank you so much for staying with us this past few minutes.